Welcome to the freshgigs.ca interviews.
Hi, I'm Bovey. I am a creative. Sometimes I just tell people that I'm a thinker. Traditionally, I am an art director. I just don't tell people that now because if I do, they just ask me to make print ads, and that's not really what I do. I've been in the business now for 19 years. Freelance for the last 3, but I originally started as a designer in London, Ontario for this awesome little company called Link Advertising. And caught wind of what was going on here in Toronto and moved here and got a job at Palmer Jarvis TV at the time, and then I went on to Taxi. From there I went on to Low Roche, and then I accidentally fell into being a freelancer, where most of my time the last few years has been spent with Zulu Alpha Kilo, as well as Anomaly, my current client. The range of clients over the years has been everything from Glad to Knorr to Esso to Budweiser and Bud Light. Worked on Google in the last few years. I've also worked on Mini and other car accounts. All kinds of stuff. A really wide spectrum of work over the last few years, which has been fantastic. Wow, what's a typical day like? Well, on a briefing day, obviously we have a meeting with the account team and other creatives, maybe other companies, and sometimes even a client is there to do the brief, which makes it interesting. We obviously talk about the brief, and we figure what the business objectives are. From there, I will go off and work with either other members of my creative, partners, if you will, at the shop, like writers and other art directors, or digital, or even the other companies, and come up with an idea. Once that's sold, then it's off into, well, who is best to help us bring this to life? And quite often we work on that while we're doing the creative, because that's a really important process of it. Like with this job I just did for Mini, the person that we wanted to do it was integral to the production. So they were in from day one, to be quite honest. From the day we thought of it, I sent this artist in Portugal an email. But anyways, we go off and we find the photographers, we find the film crews, we find the people who do content, or we find the digital partners, or we find the XM partnership to make the events, and we just go out and make this stuff. And it takes you around the world sometimes, and sometimes you do worldly things in your backyard. It's quite fascinating how it all works, but it's quite a process to sometimes even just make something as simple as a TV spot, as well as other content. That seems to be the way that my life is going. The most challenging part of our job, of my job, I think actually any creative person's job, and I would say this would be, I honestly think that the most challenging thing is maybe the same challenge for everybody in this industry, is actually nailing down the business problem that we are trying to solve. Quite often, in what we do this, obviously there's a brief, but I think that just because of the way humans are, we all have slightly different interpretations of what that business objective is for our client. And I think as you go through creating the work and finishing the work, that business objective is changing because life moves on. But honestly, if the faster that you understand the business problem you're trying to solve, the quicker you'll get it done and the better results you'll get. And that is quite often, like from the moment I get briefed, the thing that gets the toughest questions asked about is that. I think one of the, I'm going to call it a misconception of being a creative, is that we're just this flighty bunch of people that are just kind of willy-nilly creating things for creation's sake. And I believe that the good ones are not. A smart creative will obviously come up with a big idea, and that's what you're looking for. You want that hugeness to thought because it sometimes has to live a long time and you need it. But what people should know, which kind of wipes some of the glamour out of this, is that when you start dealing with budgets or clients or other personalities, or let alone in Canada, the legal aspects of what we're allowed to say and how we can say it depending on the brand, the smartest creatives and the ones that you've seen be truly successful in this industry are the ones that can adapt to that change the fastest. And you also have to recognize when your idea, as much as you love the purity of it, it needs to change to survive. And you have to be able to be smart and think on your feet to change it and not hurt it. And if you can do that, you will be successful beyond belief. But if you're going to be pretentious about that, protective, and worse yet, block people out and try to save your stuff, you'll never make it in this industry. Am I left brain or right brain? That's a good one. I think naturally you would assume, because I'm a creative, I'm a right brainer. Right brainer. Wow, that came out well. But it's more than that. I mean, when you look at the management side of what we have to do creatively to ultimately get things done, I do believe you dip into both sides. I mean, predominantly I'm a right-sider, but I think my left has a lot to do with how I organize my day and how my thought process of getting through things, because I am a bit of a meticulous person. You know, and I think that also starts to adventure outside of my professional career as well. You know, I mean, I just did a photography show just for fun. You know, it was just a hobby, I guess, and I just needed to kind of do something with it. And it was just this thing where I went out and I do it like everybody else does. Lots of people urban explore. I just went out, and while I was doing it, I was trying to bring a little bit more to it. I had a bit of a surprising connection with these adventures, and I found that started to show in my photography. So I chose to show it, and I've just had my first show, which has gone way beyond my expectations. But after that, when you start applying, I found that when I started to apply all the things I've learned in advertising to my extracurricular life, it's just these other opportunities show up, like this photography show. And you know, I opened a private school with my wife a few years ago, and taking what I do as a creative person, which is like this problem-solving aspect of it, and then getting to do a business from the core, like from the first words on paper, has been immensely fascinating, because you get to see this thing come to life that people experience. And in our case, when we're dealing with small children and parents, it's a really emotional reaction to it as well. So that has been a very proud project. And then I've also, because I deal with so many products, and often when you're creating work, it's like, oh, you run into these product faults. I have some other ideas for products. So I went back to school and learned 3D modeling, and I've getting into product design, and have some aspirations to create my own things for the automotive industry. I'm just going to try it. You know, we live in this fascinating time right now. Like when you look at advertising as a whole, it's how much it's changed. And the different types of things we're doing now and you have access to. And when you get a little outside of that and look at how much our clients' world has changed, and how the entrepreneur can now, the access to the information and the technology that you have through the internet, and the fact that small business can now act like big business, I think this is a fascinating time to just go out and experiment and try things, and I love it. I'm having so much fun outside of my day-to-day life, which is even fun, strangely. So I'm at Anomaly right now, and it's a fabulous place to work. I have so much fun there, because they are approaching it in a different way, what we do. And so many people ask me, how did you get in? And honestly, I just acted fast. Like, a friend of mine said, you'd be a good fit, so I sent my portfolio, and the next day I was basically there. That's how it operates. And everybody always wants to know how to do it, how to do this, how to do that. And I'm like, honestly, don't ask for permission, don't ask for forgiveness, you just have to do it. And for goodness sake, don't wait for the opportunity. I mean, you have to be observant of opportunity, but if you're waiting for them to come find you, it's not going to happen. You have to bang on people's doors and just go for it. And that's kind of the way it's worked for me my entire career, and I did that by accident, you know. And speaking of opportunity, you know, you look at where this industry can take you. Like, you can come do this for a while, and then, you know, some people go off and become directors, some people go off and become photographers. I have a guy that I've just been working with for my last 3 companies who has manufactured and created actually I should say it's 2 of them, their own 3D scanner. And they put it up on Indiegogo, and it's going around the world, the success they're having, and their life has changed. And you know, these were guys that worked in digital. We created banner ads together, and now they're making products and going to the CES show. It's a fascinating industry that you can come in and stay in as long as you want, or you can transform it into something else.
For more interviews, industry articles, and the latest jobs, visit www.freshgigs.ca.